Star Trek reveals its final Kelvin timeline secret, and it's something no one saw coming. For over 15 years, Star Trek's Kelvin timeline, the alternate universe birthed by J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot, has stood as both a bold reinvention and a lingering mystery. It gave fans thrilling action, a younger crew, and an entirely new timeline branching from a single tragic moment, the destruction of the USS Kelvin. But while 3 blockbuster films explored this divergent reality, there's always been an air of unfinished business, unanswered questions about its purpose, its place in Star Trek canon, and its ultimate fate. Now, at long last, Star Trek has revealed its final Kelvin timeline secret, and it's something no one could have possibly predicted. In a revelation that blends science fiction daring with emotional depth, Paramount has confirmed that the Kelvin timeline story will officially conclude, not with another feature film, but with a crossover event that ties directly into the Prime timeline itself. And the twist? The Kelvin universe was never a simple, alternate reality. It was a temporal quarantine, a pocket timeline created by the Federation itself to save existence from collapsing after the events of Star Trek 2009. The origin of the Kelvin timeline, a fresh look at 2009's catalyst. To understand how this shocking twist reshapes everything we thought we knew, we have to return to where it all began. The opening minutes of Abrams' Star Trek. The attack on the USS Kelvin by Nero's Romulan mining ship, the Narada, wasn't just a cinematic opening. It was the moment the timeline fractured. When Nero and Spock were pulled back through time via a black hole, the Kelvin's destruction set off a chain reaction that redefined the course of history. Kirk's father dies, Vulcan is destroyed, and the Federation faces a vastly different future. For years, fans accepted the simplest explanation. This was a branch timeline, one of infinite possibilities. But according to new canon revealed in the upcoming Star Trek Legacy of Two Worlds miniseries, the final Kelvin story, that's not the whole truth. The Kelvin universe wasn't natural at all. It was designed, the Federation's forbidden experiment. In the Legacy of Two Worlds teaser released by Paramount+, Admiral Nyota Uhura Prime timeline reveals a classified Federation operation known only as Project Paradox. It was initiated in the 24th century after a series of catastrophic time incursions. Events like the temporal Cold War from Enterprise and the Romulan black hole from Star Trek 2009 threatened to unravel the fabric of reality itself. As Uhura explains in the teaser, greater than, we didn't just monitor time, we built walls around it. The Kelvin reality wasn't born, it was contained. In other words, when Nero's ship emerged from the black hole and disrupted the timeline, the Federation's temporal agents, possibly descendants of the Department of Temporal Investigations, activated a fail-safe to prevent a paradox cascade. The result was the creation of a temporal quarantine zone, the Kelvin timeline. This revelation reframes the entire trilogy. The Kelvin crew, Chris Pine's Kirk, Zachary Quinto's Spock, Zoe Saldana's Uhura, and the rest weren't living in a naturally occurring parallel universe. They were existing within an artificial reality bubble, a protective construct designed to isolate the paradox created by Nero's incursion. And now that bubble is collapsing. The end of the bubble. In Legacy of Two Worlds, the Kelvin universe begins to experience catastrophic temporal distortions. Planets phase in and out of existence. Starfleet ships vanish into static. Vulcan, already destroyed once, flickers between being and nothingness. The only person who can make sense of it, Spock Prime, the late Leonard Nimoy's version of the Vulcan legend, who crossed into the Kelvin reality back in the 2009 film. His final log entries, left behind after his death in Star Trek Beyond, hold the key. In those logs, Spock Prime reveals that he suspected the truth. Greater than, this universe is too perfect in its divergence. The probabilities do not align with chance. I believe our existence here is by design, not of nature, but of mercy. That one word, mercy, becomes the emotional core of the finale. A universe built from compassion. The twist goes beyond technobabble. The idea that the Kelvin timeline was created out of mercy reshapes our understanding of Star Trek's moral universe. When Spock Prime saved the Kelvin reality from collapsing, knowingly or not, he ensured that countless billions of lives, even if artificially sustained, could continue to live and love. The Federation's act of temporal quarantine was, in effect, a moral decision. Rather than erasing this offshoot universe to preserve order, they allowed it to exist as a living monument to what might have been. It's not a story about time travel anymore. It's a story about compassion across realities. That emotional resonance is what sets Legacy of Two Worlds apart. The Kelvin crew, upon learning their existence may have been engineered to contain a paradox, must grapple with the existential weight of that revelation. Are we less real? Kirk asks in one scene. Because someone made our world to keep another safe? Spock answers simply, reality is not what creates us. It is what we create within it. Kirk meets Kirk, the final crossover, the big moment, the one fans have dreamed of for years, finally comes in the third act. Kelvin Kirk meets Prime Kirk. Through a collapsing temporal rift, a mission gone wrong brings Pine's brash, instinctive captain face to face with William Shatner's older, wiser version, or rather, a holographic consciousness derived from the Prime Kirk preserved in Starfleet's temporal archives. Their conversation serves as the emotional climax of the entire Kelvin saga. Kelvin Kirk, facing the annihilation of his reality, admits that he feels his life was built on someone else's accident. Shatner's Kirk responds with one of the most Star Trek lines ever written. Greater than, son, the universe doesn't care how you got here. It cares what you do while you're here. And from what I've seen, you've done just fine. It's the symbolic passing of the torch the franchise has never quite managed to deliver. Spock's final gift. Before the Kelvin reality collapses, Spock Quinto discovers a final directive encoded by Spock Prime, a data sequence that can transfer the collective memories and history of the Kelvin reality into the Prime Timeline's Federation archives. When the bubble collapses, their universe won't truly die, it will merge in memory, becoming a part of Starfleet's collective consciousness. The last moments of Legacy of Two Worlds are pure Star Trek, a montage of the Kelvin crew living their final days, Scotty repairing the Enterprise, Bones sharing a drink with Kirk, Uhura and Spock holding hands as the stars fade. And then, silence. Cut to the Prime Timeline. A young cadet at Starfleet Academy reading an old digital file labeled USS Enterprise and CC-1701 alternate universe mission logs. The cadet smiles. They sound like legends. Why this twist works. For years, fans debated how or whether the Kelvin timeline could connect to Prime canon. This revelation solves that question beautifully. By framing the Kelvin universe as an intentional temporal quarantine, the writers honor its independence while tying it meaningfully to the larger Star Trek mythos. It's also a poignant farewell. The Kelvin films, often criticized for being too action-driven, now gain a profound thematic layer. They were always about characters living inside a fragile, temporary world. In hindsight, their urgency, their recklessness, their passion, all of it feels like the actions of people trying to make their fleeting reality matter. Even the destruction of Vulcan in 2009 takes on new meaning. It wasn't an arbitrary tragedy. It was the emotional spark that made the Kelvin universe feel real, despite its artificial origin. The legacy of the Kelvin timeline. As Star Trek continues expanding with Strange New Worlds, Section 31, and Starfleet Academy, Legacy of Two Worlds provides a satisfying bookend for a saga that's long existed in limbo. It ensures that Pine's Kirk and Quinto's Spock aren't just footnotes in a cinematic experiment. They're now part of the Federation's history, woven into the moral and philosophical tapestry of Star Trek itself. In the final narration, delivered by Quinto's Spock as his voice fades into the stars, the Kelvin universe signs off with,